The $1 billion solar plant failure. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my morning stein of coffee, and I thought we would have a look at this article that was sent to me by a viewer from Bloomberg. It's about a $1 billion solar plant in the United States that was obsolete before it even went online. Now, this is something as architects you will encounter in projects. Often if you're working for big institutions, I think Rachel regales a story when she was a student and they were designing a school, documenting a school extension. And by the time it was projected to be finished, it would already be obsolete. So they were already doing master planning on the next extension to the school. Now, this is for a private school, so they were planning things out properly, efficiently, and planning for the future. But it just shows you need to think ahead when you do this. This wasn't a government investment. This was a private enterprise in many regards. So it was quite interesting to experience that. Let me know in the comments your experiences with this, with future proofing. Now, this example we have is a $1 billion investment in renewable energy that's obsolete by the time it's even built. Obsolete by the time it's built. And I know there's a whole lot of people that think we need to be investing piles of money into infrastructure projects. Let's just build windmills all over Australia. And here I've got the Australian energy market. And we can see everything that's green is producing below 30%, 4% power, 15% capacity. Oh, that's 98. Oh, sorry, I clicked on a fossil fuel generator. The X's are all wind farms, guys. They're all wind farms. Some are at 5%. Some are at negative 0%, 5%. So this is the thing. I'm critical because you've got all this infrastructure investment all over the state to generate power that could be matched. By a modern gas turbine station. I don't know if Pelican Plan is, but I know one of them is here. 478 megawatts. They're at 98 capacity because all the wind farms are doing bugger all. And these are all over the place, producing very little. Just think of the infrastructure to get the power from there to the city to where you need it. Or you could get a tiny little building, on a site, get a few modern jet turbine engines that can produce power at an efficient rate using all the gas we have. And it's better than coal. It's insanely better than coal. So this is the thing. It's an opportunity cost that people have to realize. And my issue with all of the people who are marching on the streets and are saying that world is coming to the end, they're painting it as an all or nothing game. They don't understand. Well, no, if they understand the opportunity cost, they're so fanatical they think we're essentially going to die as a species. I have a little more confidence in the resilience of humanity to overcome these type of things. I think we'll even survive the creeping socialism that's going all over the world. That personally, I would argue, is a much greater threat. My concern is we're going to throw a whole lot of money in these pipe dream projects, which are going to be a complete waste over time. And, in the next 50 years, I would rather have improved quality of life, improved money to actually deploy into research to get advanced technology which can address some of the environmental issues that people are concerned of much better than just building some windmills or obsolete tech. So I see this as a very good example of where it can all go wrong, where all the good intentions of the government, where the posturing, where all the BS can fall apart. And don't for a minute or a second think the Australian government is any smarter than the US government. Don't even think that. So let's have a look. A $1 billion solar plant was obsolete before it even went online. Solar reserves, Crescent Dunes received backing from Citigroup and the Obama Energy Department, but couldn't keep pace with technological advances. And here's an aerial image of it. It looks quite impressive. So it's using the thermal capacity of the sun to heat and for one turbine. That has to be more than one. You'd hope it would be, because it's not much, wouldn't it? The Crescent Dunes solar plant looks like something out of a science fiction movie. 10,000 mirrors form a spiral almost 2 miles wide that winds around a skyscraper rising above the desert between Las Vegas and Reno. The operation soaks up enough heat from the sun's rays to spin steam turbines and store energy in the form of molten salt. In 2011, the $1 billion project was to be the biggest solar plant of its kind, and it looked like the future of renewable power. See, this is the thing. Even with all the panels put on people's houses, the middle class and upper class subsidies that people get here in Australia, by the time you put it on, there's going to be cheaper alternatives. Citigroup Inc. and other financiers invested $140 million with its developers Solar Reserve Incorporated. Stephen Chow, the U.S. Department of Energy Secretary at the time, offered the company government loan guarantees. And Harry Reid, then the Senate Majority Leader and senior senator from Nevada, cleared the way for the company to build on public land. So look at all the perks they're getting. You've got to realize all of these things, this is citizens' money. This guarantee is citizens' money. And there's an opportunity cost with that, because the government is appropriating those funds, guaranteeing these loans, and you'll see it'll fall apart. Where else could that have gone? At a Washington celebration of Solar Reserve's public funding, Chief Executive Officer Kevin Smith told the assembled politicians, "We're proud to be doing our part to win the future." Oh, wow. Solar Reserve may have done its part, but today the company doesn't rank among the winners. Instead, it's mired in litigation and accusations of mismanagement of Crescent Dunes, where taxpayers remain on the hook for $737 million in loan guarantees. Late last year, Crescent Dunes lost its only customer, NV Energy Incorporated, which cited the plant's lack of reliability. It's a victim, ironically, of the solar industry's success over the past decade. The steam generators at Crescent Dunes requires custom parts and a staff of dozens to keep things humming and to conduct regular maintenance. When I read that, I think of steampunk. Frankly, yeah. In many ways, this reminds me of a steampunk game, Frostpunk. You've got the central generator, everything's circular around it. Funny that, but the level of maintenance and customization there. I mean, there you go, guys. There you go. By the time the plant opened in 2015, the increased efficiency of cheap solar panels had already surpassed its technology. And today, it's obsolete. The latest panels can pump out power at a fraction of the cost for decades, with just an occasional hosing down. Well, there you have it. I mean, and there's cheaper alternatives to this as well. Because that's the problem with these things. I mean, they're great, but who uses power for only half the day? I know I usually finish work at midnight, and I'm thinking I want to get panels because we use a lot of power here. I've got a few servers down there. I've got 3 computers, and we're running them most of the day when we're working. Maybe it'd be great if I could let me know, a small bioreactor at home where I could just convert all of the organic mass that I'm growing around me into energy. That'd be good. I'd like one of those. Let me know in the comments if those exist, or if I just should buy a generator and try and convert all of the plant material into methane. But somehow I don't think they'd allow you to do that, would they? NV Energy, owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, had to wait months to cut ties with Solar Reserve. Crescent Dunes has been shut down since April, and the Energy Department took control of it in August, according to a lawsuit Solar Reserve filed in Delaware Chancery Court, seeking to reverse the takeover. The plant's technology was designed to generate enough power night and day to supply a city the size of nearby Sparks, Nevada, population 100,000, but it never came close. Its power cost NV about $135 per megawatt hour, compared with less than $30 per megawatt hour today at a new Nevada photovoltaic solar farm, according to Bloomberg NEF, which researches fossil fuel alternatives. Look at that difference. Look at that difference, guys. This is the problem. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to cut your ability to do research. Almost no one associated with Crescent Dunes will talk about it anymore. That includes the once friendly politicians and regulators, the financiers, and the executives who've been in place during its failure. Solar Reserve didn't respond to repeated requests for comment. The story, and a lawyer representing the company said he wasn't authorized to comment. One exception is Bill Gould, a Solar Reserve co-founder who retired as its chief technology officer last year. He blames the contractor. It was a tragedy of mismanagement, he said. Spanish company ACS Cobra, he says, delayed necessary work on Crescent Dunes and designed a salt tank that leaked, crippling the plant. Solar Reserve similarly blamed ACS Cobra in its Delaware suit, but doesn't appear to have filed any legal claims against the contractor. Okay, why not? If they've done defective work, why aren't you suing them? Grupo Cobra, ACS Cobra's parent company, didn't respond to requests for comment. The Energy Department estimates that losses represent only 2.9% of its $28 billion in loan guarantees from renewable energy projects. I mean, we saw what happened over in the United States with essentially the loan guarantee process, how it's affected the cost of education over there over time. These are insane. The government stepping in and picking winners in the market has significant consequences, and they just compound over the long term. It's dangerous, and it's really concerning here in Australia that we're seeing our liberal government do a similar thing. So if anyone, people who go, bloody liberal, yeah, big business party, or Labour, working class, it's not like that, guys. They're very similar. The differences are tiny. They are tiny. Bill Shorten is meeting with US ambassadors and talking how he, can negotiate deals with big business, and he's friendly to big business. I did a video on that months ago, back in the election. So there's very little difference between the two. That's why I argue to shift the window. Vote strategically. Learn how to use the power of your preferences. This is what we have in Australia. A lot of people don't. Voting for a minor can send a clear message and isn't a throwaway vote. Learn about that. And I'm sure I'll do lots of videos on that at the next election. So anyway, back to this. So they also funded such successes as the massive farms of thin solar cells from the biggest American manufacturers. Advocates of public investment say flops are an inevitable part of seeding a carbon-neutral future, just as they are for venture capitalists seeking the next Google. Okay, maybe the government should stay out of it and let the market run itself. Let private businesses go. If you didn't have the loan guarantees, would these banks be investing in it? That'll tell you. You should probably have more than one or two high-profile failures, said Yale economics professor Kenneth Gillingham, who studied energy issues as part of President Barack Obama's White House Council of Economic Advisors. Otherwise, you haven't invested aggressively enough. Sure. Why wouldn't you do it as a pilot project? I'm sure they did, and they just tried to scale it up, and the complexities blew it out of the water. Under the Trump administration, which has mocked the push for fossil fuel alternatives, it's easy to imagine Crescent Dune being used as a talking point if the White House proposes to eliminate federal subsidies for renewable power, says Timothy Fox, a vice president at researcher Clearview Energy Partners, LLC. Chris Edwards, the director of tax policy studies at the Libertarian Cato Institute, said the Fed shouldn't invest in alternative energy. There's a long and growing list of failed government projects, says Edward, a former senior economist on the Republican staff of the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee. He points to the familiar examples of Zoldra LLC, a solar company backed by $535 million in loan guarantees that filed for bankruptcy in 2011. This reminds me exactly of the railroad in the United States, where the government organization, business to connect the cities, built these windy bullshit lines that cost so much, took forever to finish, and ended up going under. There's historical precedent for this, but people don't know. People don't know how crap the government is at investing in anything, because it's not your money when people are spending it. A buyer might try to bring Crescent Dunes back online, or its owner could sell it for parts. But now the plant is mostly a punchline in a part of Nevada that's seen a share of booms and busts. The nearest town, Tonopah, was the site of a silver rush in the early 1900s. It's now home to 2,400 people, a motley collection of saloons and casinos, a mining museum, and the Clown Motel, which calls itself America's Scariest Motel because it's close to a cemetery and filled with creepy, red-nosed tchotchkes. The solar plant's workers don't boost business like they used to, said Linda Taylor, the motel's manager. It took our money, she says, of a giant mirror matrix up the road. It's dead. But real pretty. You could see it for miles. Well, it could be a tourist attraction. It could be a tourist attraction. So guys, this is an example. When you have more people calling for infrastructure spending, stimulate the economy, that seems to be the repeated thing. Remember, all the money the government has is taken off you. And you have to pay your taxes before you put food on the table for your family, and before you pay your mortgage. So I am not an advocate of all this increased government spending. I would rather, as I said before, let's look at ways to stimulate business by reducing burden. Look at special economic regions around the country to try and encourage businesses to invest in Australia. Make it an incentive to start, let's say North Queensland, somewhere that's doing bad, or a regional town, or even one of our major cities. Businesses don't have payroll tax. We need to start thinking outside the box, guys. We need to create incentives to employ people locally and not offshore work. We need to make it easier. We don't just need to do the same thing again, building roads and investing our money in these social justice projects because people feel the world is coming to an end. And I mark my words, in 50 years' time, if they, what happens when they get cold fusion, or if they get fusion going? What do you think will happen then? More advanced technology. It'll blow all this crap out of the water. You'll have one or two plants in the country and it'll power everything. I mean, we could do it now in Australia. Just to look at all that infrastructure investment that we've put. We've got to remember, all of this infrastructure investment in projects that are producing hardly anything. And let's refresh it. 6:30 in the morning. That shouldn't affect the wind. So the solar ones are starting up. That's good. I mean, that's all huge investment. And I don't even want to know how much government subsidies has gone into that. How much land was given away or assumed. Anyway, guys, let me know what your opinion is on all of this. Can you see the Australian government going down a similar path? Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to help us produce more content, I have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. I also have the feature for you to join the channel here on YouTube, get access to special badges and emojis. We have affiliate links with Independent Reserve for your crypto trading, Amazon, and eBay. These are great ways for you to support a content creator without incurring any cost to you. We receive a portion of any, a commission. So all the people who are buying Blu-ray DVDs, as I can see on Amazon, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And every little bit adds up and just helps me do this and justify it to the wife. We also have our very own merchandise, pocket squares that you can get on our website that Rachel has made locally here in our very own sweatshop in this house. And then finally, we have PayPal if you want to make a direct donation, and other methods that you can find on the support tab of our website. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.